In 2016, a 19-year-old kid dropped out of MIT. No investors, no product, no team, just an idea about something most people had never even heard of. 5 years later, that same kid was worth over $1 billion. He became the youngest self-made billionaire on Earth, and almost nobody saw it coming. This is the story of Alexandr Wang, how he spotted a problem nobody cared about, built a company nobody wanted, and sold it to everyone who matters, including the U.S. military. Alexandr Wang grew up in Los Alamos, New Mexico. His parents were Chinese immigrant physicists who worked at the National Laboratory, the same facility that built the atomic bomb. He wasn't raised on PlayStation. He was raised on physics problems and math competitions. By his early teens, he was competing at a national level in math, physics, and coding. Before college, he skipped straight to Silicon Valley, landed a job as a software engineer at Quora, one of the hottest tech companies at the time. He was 18. That's where he met Lucy Guo, a product designer. They didn't know it yet, but the two of them were about to change how artificial intelligence works permanently. Wang eventually enrolled at MIT, but not for long, because something happened in his college dorm that would become one of the most interesting startup origin stories in Silicon Valley history. Someone kept stealing his food from the shared refrigerator, so he decided to build an AI camera system to catch them. The camera worked, but analyzing the footage, impossible. There was no labeled data. The AI couldn't tell a hand from a bottle. That was the moment everything clicked. Wang realized something that the entire AI industry was quietly ignoring. You could have the best AI model in the world, but without clean labeled training data, it was useless. Think of it this way. AI is the engine, data is the fuel, and at the time, nobody was refining the fuel. Wang decided that was his job. In 2016, he dropped out of MIT, joined Y Combinator, the startup accelerator that funded Airbnb, Dropbox, and Stripe. He was the youngest founder in his batch. He co-founded Scale AI with Lucy Guo, 3 employees. No major funding. The mission was simple: build the data infrastructure that the entire AI industry was missing. The name was Scale AI. At the time, with 3 people in the room, the name was basically a joke. Nothing about it was scaled. Their first big bet was autonomous vehicles. In 2016, self-driving cars were the hottest thing in tech. Every major company, Google, GM, Uber, was racing to build one. But all these cars had a problem. They were collecting mountains of video footage and sensor data, and none of it was labeled. The cars couldn't learn from it. Scale AI was the solution. Waymo, formerly Google's self-driving project, became one of their first major customers. Then came Uber, General Motors, Toyota. Suddenly, Scale AI wasn't a joke anymore, but it wasn't easy. Wang has talked openly about how hard those early years were, generating ideas every single day, iterating constantly, grinding harder than everyone else in the building. His parents were physicists. They taught him one thing above everything else: persistence. Not talent, not luck. Just keep going when it gets hard. By the end of 2016, their first year, Scale AI was already working with 4 major companies: Uber, Alphabet, Houzz, Procter & Gamble. In year 1, in August 2019, Bloomberg ran a headline that stopped Silicon Valley in its tracks. Silicon Valley's latest unicorn is run by a 22-year-old. Scale AI had just crossed a $1 billion valuation. 3 years in, Wang was 22. Most people his age were still figuring out their major. Then things got even bigger. OpenAI, Microsoft, Nvidia, Airbnb, DoorDash, Pinterest. All of them started using Scale AI's platform. The list of customers read like a who's who of big tech. December 2020, pandemic. Most companies are cutting budgets. Scale AI hits a $3.5 billion valuation, 200 employees, tens of thousands of contractors. Then came the move nobody expected. The U.S. military came knocking. The Pentagon, the U.S. Department of Defense, selected Scale AI to test and evaluate AI systems for military operations. A startup, founded by a 19-year-old, was now testing AI for the most powerful military on Earth. That is how fast things moved. April 2021, Scale AI raises $325 million in a single funding round. Valuation hits $7.3 billion. Wang's personal stake makes him worth over $1 billion. He was 24 years old. the youngest self-made billionaire in the world. And he hadn't built an app. He hadn't gone viral. He built infrastructure. The boring, essential, invisible layer that everything else runs on top of. That is what scale AI is. That is what he saw at 19 that nobody else did. Fast forward to 2025. Wang is now 28, and a decision gets made that reshapes the AI industry again. Meta, Mark Zuckerberg's company, invested $14.3 billion into Scale AI in exchange for 49% of the company. And one condition, Wang had to come work for Meta personally. Scale AI's valuation doubled overnight, from $14 billion to $29 billion. In a single deal, the company he started with 3 people and a whiteboard was now worth $29 billion. Wang wrote a memo to his team the day he left. He said, "Opportunities of this magnitude often come at a cost. In this instance, that cost is my departure." Cold, clean, no drama. He now leads Meta's superintelligence labs. He meets heads of state. He was at Trump's second inauguration. He spoke at the World Economic Forum about America winning the AI war. His net worth, as of 2025, $3.6 billion, from a fridge camera in a dorm room to a $3.6 billion net worth. That is the actual arc of this story. Now, most YouTube videos about Alexandr Wang stop here. They tell you the numbers. But there are 3 specific things he did that almost nobody talks about. 3 decisions that actually built the company. And if you want to build anything in the AI space right now, these 3 things matter more than any pitch deck. Let's get into it. Lesson 1. Build what you yourself would use. Wang didn't start Scale AI because he read a market report. He built something he personally hit a wall with. The data problem was his problem first. That is the difference between starting a business because you saw a gap in a spreadsheet and starting one because you could not live without it existing. Lesson 2. Pick the boring problem. Wang did not build a consumer app. He built infrastructure. Data labeling is not glamorous. It is not viral. Nobody posts about it on social media, but every single AI company in the world needed it. Without Scale AI, most of the AI models you use today would not exist. The boring pick was the right pick. Lesson 3. Move before the wave hits. Wang founded Scale AI in 2016. AI was not mainstream yet. ChatGPT didn't exist. Most people thought AI was science fiction. He built the infrastructure before anyone needed it at scale. So when the AI wave hit in 2022, 2023, 2024, Scale AI was already sitting exactly where everyone needed to go. Most people wait to see if something works before they build it. Wang built it before most people knew it was needed. That timing gap is worth billions. He was not the most famous, not the most funded, not the one with the biggest Twitter following. He was just early and right. That combination is rare. Build what you need. Pick the boring problem. Move before the crowd. That is the Alexandr Wang playbook, and it produced a $29 billion company. Here is what I want you to take from this. Wang was not a genius who got lucky. He was a focused person who saw a real problem and refused to move on until he'd solved it. Right now, in 2026, the AI industry is where the internet was in 1996. The infrastructure is being built. The picks and shovels are being laid. Most people are watching from the sidelines. The next Alexandr Wang is probably building something right now that sounds completely boring. Solving a problem that doesn't seem exciting enough to brag about, in a space nobody else is looking at yet. The question is, are you watching that person, or are you that person? If this story gave you one thing to think about today, that's enough. Drop your thoughts below. What would you build? I read every single comment.